I'm definitely growing it out for sure.
No, it's fly, bro. I swear. We gotta. This is the thing, man. So answer me this, man. So is it the man chooses the beard or the beard chooses the man? How does that go?
I think that's a tough topic, to be honest. I often ponder that. Does the beard choose the man, or does the man choose the beard? I always wanted a beard like this ever since I was younger. So I don't know. You could say I manifested it, but I'm blessed at the same time. My father has a nice beard, so maybe the beard chooses the man.
Man, I'll tell you this, man. It's a dream of many, but not many are able to achieve it, bro. And your beard looks great, dog.
I know. If I wasn't able to grow this, I don't know. I don't know what I'd do.
No, hell yeah, bro. Well, first of all, Gino, I just want to say thank you so much, bro, for taking time out of your busy schedule for sitting down and having this, shooting this episode with me. So yeah, bro, I just want to say I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you offering, man. I'm very happy to be here.
Absolutely, bro. And then with this podcast, I don't know if you've seen what I'm really trying to do here is really not only celebrate the artists, the people that I've had a chance to work with, but even more so, just to bring value to the table. You know what I'm saying? Giving the artist, giving the person a chance to
Hmm.
speak their truth, speak their experience. I also always want to say that there is no right or wrong. You know, so if you have to take a minute to answer something, by all means. Of course, I know you off camera, so I feel like this is going to flow pretty smoothly. But I just want to say the terms and agreements. You know what I'm saying?
I love it.
And
Absolutely. They're
so,
they're key. They're key.
absolutely, bro. But just to start you off, man. First question: where are you from, and where are you born?
I'm born and raised here in Arizona, specifically on the west side, Litchfield Park, Buckeye area. Traveled back and forth there for the past 27 years. And then now I do a lot of living out here on the east side in Queen Creek. So, and I'm an Arizona native, and now that I'm, mid 20s, getting closer to 30s, I'm traveling all over the state for work, and I'm loving it. It's a
Mhm.
beautiful state.
Yeah, no, Arizona's tight, man. I've been here for about 20 years. I was originally born in Chicago, so I'm more of like Midwestern. Like I had my father's side from Chicago and then my mother's side from Detroit. But I'll always say Arizona raised me because I've been here for almost 20 plus years. But
Absolutely.
when did it start for you, man? When did the spark happen for you to get into the creativity and being an actor, being a director?
That's what. Okay, so that for me is a heavy question. Like, that's almost a two-parter. So,
Hmm.
when did it start? I think I know actually. It started when I was young. As far back as I can remember, I've always loved creating. Didn't matter. The imagination was wild, right? I'd play with my toys all the time. I had a little army men, line them up, and in my head, I would see these massive, magnificent battles on such a grand, epic scale. But in reality, you just have these two little figures there. And as time went on, and I learned about creative writing, and that I could take what I see in my head and put a story behind it, so other people could kind of visually see and read and feel what I was seeing and thinking and feeling when I was playing. I fell in love with it then, and I think it really kicked off a little bit more in middle school, and I started writing more then. And then
Okay.
as I got older, late teens, when I became a dad in my late teens, that's when I realized, okay, what do I love doing? What brings me the most joy? And it turned out to be creating, and that's when it started to like the wheels started to spin. Like, okay, maybe there's something with this. Let me explore it more. And then I was like, all right, well, with movies, you can really create and have people see what I see in my head, right? Within reason, limits and all of that. But that's what really started that way, with the creativity. It just kind of always scaled from
Hmm.
there. And acting came in, I don't know where. Again, it's as far back as I can remember. I never was young and like, all right, let me be an actor. I want to be on a screen. Of course, those thoughts were there, but and then I was like, do I really want that? No, I don't want to be an A-list actor, but it would be awesome to achieve that. And so I started that journey of learning to become an actor, which I realized throughout that whole process, you're really just learning. You're learning to be yourself,
Hmm.
a true honest version of yourself, taking other things away and becoming this character on a page. And I fell in love with that as well, and I off and on with acting. So it's always been there, but it's always capitalized on itself. It's always built.
Hmm. Absolutely, bro. What were some of the challenges that you kind of went that you were kind of faced with? early
Not
on in the
knowing how to
beginning.
start. Yeah, it's
Mhm,
not knowing how to start. And that was a struggle. It's like, okay, how do I make a movie?
mhm,
Right? And how do I where do I start? And you do a lot of research and YouTube, and how it is with anything, when you start it, you come to the conclusion the best way to learn it is just to do it and to
mhm,
fail. So I started to fall in love with the process then, and learning you have to be okay with more negativity than positivity when you start something, because you almost have like this glorified romance,
mhm.
right, with your dream job or what it could be, and then you almost forget the steps you have to do to get there. It's like, oh, I actually have to start. So starting and figuring out what was that right first step, right? I
Mhm.
spent so much time like, where do I put my foot first to make sure I have an advantage and an edge to get the most out of it. I realized there is no first right step. Now I realize that, but that was
Mhm.
the hardest thing, is being in my own head and trying to figure out and plan and plan and plan, when you just have to, you just got to go,
Yeah,
just got to run.
absolutely. And I love that, bro. I love that you're pretty much saying that you got to start exactly where you're at. What were some of the resources that you used? You know what I'm saying? Like right when you hit the ground running, what were some of the resources that you took advantage of?
I used whoever I could.
Mm,
When I started making my films, my very first film, my son was in, and his mom was in, and I did that. And then when I started to feel more comfortable with the scripts, and I was like, all right, let me branch out to friends. So then I branched out to friends, and I had friends come in. And once I felt I was comfortable with friends, and kind of, going through that trial and error process of talking with them, I
mm,
then was like, okay, let me join Facebook groups and see how they're doing it. Let me get, on a set and see how they run it. And then I just started networking, right? And I built up my confidence. So I started off with my family, quite literally, and
mhm.
slowly branched out to friends and to outer circles. And as I did that, my confidence grew, and that really is kind of what got me to where I am now. Just, all right, like meeting a stranger and having them read words that you wrote on a script and seeing them bring it to life. That was awesome.
Do you remember your first performance, bro?
Yes.
What was that
Uh,
experience like?
I would call this my first real performance.
Okay.
So it was Upside Down, and it was a film done at Huntington University. And I remember I auditioned for the main role, and that film actually was the foundation of pretty much everyone I know now and everything that came after. Like, that was such a pivotal film. That
Mhm,
first performance was my first performance, like in front of a camera with somebody else's script, with somebody else's everything. It was like my first time, like a debut, you could call it.
mhm,
Um, for everything, and that was terrifying, right? Because that was my first time seeing a crew of, I think it was like 15, 20 people, and we actually had a location, and I was getting emails, and I had to sign this, and I had to do all this paper. It felt really official, and it felt intimidating, because I was like, wow, this is a side I've never seen before. Like, this is some big production stuff, right? And you get on
mhm.
set, and they got everybody in these cars, and you learn more terms, and everybody's like taking the gear, and you see these big Pelican boxes, and you're just like in shock and awe. And I was like, okay, this is like a real deal. Like, it's a 3 day shoot. I'm getting paid for this. Like, I really got to study and hone in. And that was a range of emotions. It was exhilarating, exciting, nervous beyond belief, but just in awe, really.
I feel like with the nerves, man, especially when you're like, oh, dude, this is like the next step or something that you've never done before. But to
Right.
still talk about that same experience that you just mentioned, talk about how you were able to kind of work past those nervousness and the nerves. You're stepping on set, meeting all these people. It is very overwhelming and quite
Yeah.
exciting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think one thing that helped me was just realizing if I wanted a good outcome, I had to put in good work.
Mm,
And understanding the end goal for me is what made me realize, okay, if I'm shy and timid, even in the audition, I probably won't get the role, right? So I had to almost really hone in myself and boost my confidence in any way that I could to make it to go and talk to these strangers, right?
mhm,
All because when they yell action and you're doing a scene, you have all these eyes on you. Everybody's looking and watching you. And so I realized, okay, I have to tone all of that out. Like, that doesn't matter. That doesn't exist. What matters and what exists is the rehearsals that we did.
mhm,
Me and Johnny in the scene, me and David in the scene, the three of us in this scene, right? Like, where's my marks? Like, I toned nothing else mattered because I knew I wanted a good result, and that wanting that good result made me focus 10 times harder on preparation. So once it came to execution, it was second nature,
Hmm.
right? You just had to realize, okay, this is the situation I'm in. Everybody's looking at me. I'm nervous. I got to get those nerves and just it is what it is,
Hmm.
right? Like if I feel nervous, I'm gonna act nervous, and then that's gonna take away from the experience that we're trying to give the audience, right? So at the end of the day, in summary, it was really just going and doing it despite the emotions, just working through the emotions, just
I
going.
love that, bro. Absolutely. I feel like
Yeah.
if you're nervous, feel it. Don't necessarily try to dodge it. How many times have we tried to, including
Exactly.
myself, bro, tried to
Mhm.
suppress being nervous or anxious or whatever? You're human at the end of the day. You're going to go through these emotions, you know, but I
Yeah.
love that too. My next question, bro, do you find it hard to separate yourself from characters?
No, no. Quite the opposite. I really find myself or some type of connection to the characters. So when I'm learning them, I go into their backstory. I think like them. I create memories for them. I create a whole life for them in my head.
Mhm.
So when action is called, I could just kind of bring up all of that of who they are and what they are, and I get these details by talking with the director and everything else, working with my castmates, and just really the more work I do on understanding who everyone else is, it helps me understand who I am.
Mhm.
Right. So yeah, just character development that way was crucial.
Mhm.
So that evolved into me understanding I am my character. So even when I got done shooting Murder Pizza, which is like a really psychotic thriller, and I played two roles in that one, and one of the characters I play gets his neck slit like that. To
Mhm.
be completely honest, that messed me up because I
Mhm.
was so in the role, right? Like I was in a trash bag. They drag me, they take the trash bag off, and I just have to lay there still. Like I'm conscious, and then my neck gets slit, and I'm like, whoa,
Mhm.
right? Because as soon as the scene was over, like you're on a film set, you're going crew, everybody else they leave, and I'm just there, and I had just this prosthetic on, and I looked down, and all my clothes are bloody, and I was like, oh my god, like this is like uncanny valley, like this feels real, and that
Mhm.
stuck with me, that feeling of like death for like 2 weeks, and it really messed me up personally. So
Dang, yeah.
yeah, I don't, and it's tough doing it that way,
Mhm.
being a method actor in that sense, because sometimes if you have those roles, they stick, they
Mhm.
really stick.
What's your opinion
So
on method acting, bro? I love that you said that, by the way. I'm also a fan. But what's your opinion on it? A
absolutely,
lot of people I feel are against that for some reason.
I will say, if depending on the type of method acting that you're doing, because to me personally, I feel like there's different levels of everything that you do in life. It doesn't matter. Like there's those who do it at a casual level, and those who are very extreme in the
Mhm.
method acting. Most famously, Heath Ledger, right?
Mhm.
So there's a variety of other actors too. But with it, one of the things that worries me when it comes to method acting is it sticks with you, right? Like I was saying. But I think it's if you can have safeguards depending on the role you're doing, then you'll be okay.
Mhm.
And communicating with people who are around you, like your close personal circle, and just, telling your best friend, hey man, I'm going to be doing this role and it's going to get dark. And at some point, I'm going to need you to pull me out. And
Mhm.
here's things that you can do. Here's things that you can help me. So it's almost like you have to know yourself and take the vulnerability of yourself and kind of almost put it in somebody else's hands. So
Mhm.
when they see that role is still affecting you, they can come in and grab you out, right?
That's huge,
And
bro. Yeah.
absolutely, like I communicated that with a lot of people around me because I realized as I was doing more films, they were getting more intense of either me being a bad guy or more manipulating or more mentally dark, right? I had to go
Mhm.
to very dark spots, so I had to communicate. And I told people every single time, because the films got more intense. I was like, hey, look, like here's what you do, and here's what you do, and as long as you have that safety support system, go for it, right?
Mhm.
And this is a really extreme example. Of course, method acting doesn't have to be for these type of things. It could be for light roles and romance roles, but still, sometimes you get caught up in those things, and it's still safe to have those people bring you back and just remember who you are at your grounded,
Mhm.
level.
Mhm.
So
I think it goes to your learning experience, not so much your learning experience, but how you learn the best. If people are like, "Hey, I'm a hands-on learner," then I think they should try method. But I love the way you
yeah.
broke it down. Like, there's a beginning, there's a
Mhm.
moderate, and then there's extreme people. For example, like you mentioned, Heath Ledger. And then Christian
Yeah,
Bale is also another person. That could
yeah,
drop weight very quickly and then gain the muscle right back. But
exactly.
which one do you think is more important, bro? Knowing your lines or knowing your character?
Your character.
Okay,
Your
can you
character.
explain?
Out of
Explain.
yeah, absolutely. My
Mhm.
experience is knowing your character. There's been and I would say this varies. This definitely is varied because as we know, filmmaking is a very collaborative effort, right?
Mhm.
So if you know your character and you know how he acts and you know his motives or her motives and you know what they do on their day to day and how they think and how they operate and their perspective on life and the film situation, right?
Mhm.
Then you can almost come up with a better, and I'm using this subjectively, better because it's art at the end of the day, it's subjective. You can
Mhm.
almost come up with a better line for your character than when was written,
Mhm.
which would then appeal to the audience. And I have, luckily I worked with multiple directors who are very open to changing the lines for the script to have it hit harder for the audience. And to which, I was very vocal and it worked out well because I said, hey, I don't think my character would do this, and here's why. And it's because of this, and I think he would do this, and here's why, and here's how it would affect the scene. What are your thoughts?
Mhm.
And I'm thinking of the audience. What do I want the audience to feel again, right? So it's like, again, my whole lifelong thing of always wanting to have the audience feel something. I'm always, how can I make them get just even 2% more as long as it doesn't jeopardize the morality of the film, right?
Mhm.
Because, I mean, on the flip side, too, sometimes the words that are in the script are very intentional, put there by the screenwriter to move the story forward. So in that case, yes, stick to the lines. But if it's a generic scene, for the most part, I definitely like to have the free will. I think that
Mhm.
matters most because sometimes you can get golden nuggets that you didn't have before.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I love that you say it's a collaborative, it's a team effort, it's a tribal type of
Yeah.
environment. And I love when there's the moments to where the director or the writers will give you a moment to see what you can do, improvise. Let's see what they prepared. I know Tarantino is somebody like that. And he had
Hmm.
mentioned, he's like, I didn't start doing this until later when I was auditioning people. I just have them come in and see what they do. Because what if they do something completely different, as you know, and it's like, dang, dude, you fell in
Yeah.
love with that. Or that's a good place to start, but let me give this piece of direction and see what we can do from there. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
I love that you touch base on that. Let me see. What do you think, in your opinion, makes a good scene partner?
Someone who's willing to roll with it.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is when you mess up on a line, they don't say, okay, hold on, wait, that's not your line. Let's run it back. It's the ones who understand and they're so embedded into the creation of the world.
Hmm.
You have this dynamic relationship, it's very fluid. You have this understanding mentally that yes, we're making a movie. Yes, we have this job to do, but if something happens that's maybe off script, you still bounce it back and you guys work together to guide each other back to what needs to happen in the scene,
Hmm.
right? So it's someone who's able to roll with it, I would say, and willing to be a safe place to be vulnerable, right? Because as acting in specific, it's very vulnerable depending on the scene that you're doing. You have to definitely let yourself cry, be angry, be a killer, be um, you know whatever role you're playing. You have to allow yourself to fully be that.
Hmm.
And
That's hard to
whoever your
do.
partner,
Yeah,
yeah, and
definitely
whoever your
difficult to
partner
get
is,
to.
yeah, if you have someone who's has their walls up, right? And you try to let your walls down and express yourself in a scene, you could see that. You could see that it's not clicking. But
Hmm.
when two people have their walls down and they understand this scene and the importance of it and they roll with it, it's there's magic again that just happens. There's magic in the things that you don't know.
Hmm.
So I
Very
think
true.
that's what makes a great scene partner is just rolling with it, finding the magic, and but still sticking to the standard of what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely, bro.
Yeah, nice. I love the
What's
questions, man.
what's thank you, bro. Thank you. What's one character that you've wanted to play that you haven't had an opportunity to play? You
I
mentioned
mean,
that you play a lot of bad guy roles. You play a lot of villains. I mean, you got the look for it. You can grow the facial hair. You can shave the facial hair. So
yes, yes. Oh man, I very much would love to do a Joker. I think a lot of people would. I would very much love to do a Joker. Funny enough, but also too the Mask. If I
okay.
had an opportunity to do a version of the Mask or the Grinch, I definitely would.
Oh, because you're
Just
trying to get buried alive every day on set, bro. Talking about waking up early just to put the Grinch. No, man.
I'm
Really?
there.
Oh
I'm
man.
there. Let's do it.
For the
I would
kids.
love to do that.
Yeah. No, that'd be awesome, bro. But the mask too. That's
Hmm.
yeah, that'd be fun, bro. I could see you doing something like that, definitely. And that's kind of cool
Have to shave
because
the
I feel
beard.
like I have seen you do some type of comedic stuff, and then I also have seen you do like the dark and the villain roles and stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's very good. And then possibly, you getting a chance to do everything in between. But talk about range, man. Talk about not being, just stuck in one genre. Because I know for me, same, bro. I'll be stuck seeing. And at the end of the day, an actor just wants to act. A chef just wants an opportunity to cook. So we're going to be thankful for
absolutely.
any and all opportunities. So if it's like, yo, man, I thought for the longest time, I was like, hey, man, I think we're just going to make a career playing villains. We're
Yep,
just
I
going to live
remember
a
that.
very depressed, dark, anxiety type of life because what are we doing off
Yep.
screen? You know what I'm saying? So, but no, that's very cool. That's awesome, bro. What inspires you the most to act? Where you draw your inspirations from?
Oof. Um, I don't know if I have any major inspirations that made me want to act. Like I
Mhm.
don't. I'm not like, ooh, that's it. Like that's the one role that made me fall in love with movies. And I mean, I have movies that are my favorite, yeah, but never one of them. I didn't have like that aha moment that was like, this is what made me want to become an actor or work in film. It was again just realizing I want to make people feel something,
Mhm.
right? It doesn't matter what it is, as long as the script is true to myself. Um, then it'll become seamless as long as it aligns with my own morals and values and beliefs in some type of sense, because then you can give a more authentic, truthful presence.
Mhm.
So I don't know. There's things that I wouldn't even say influenced me in major ways. Uh, sure, I studied and looked at other actors and how they did things, but it was never how they acted. It was how did they prepare, right? Um, so I don't know if that really answers it, but yeah, it was just
100%, bro. So this is the thing. Again, just to remind you, there's no right or wrong. I just want to get
yeah.
I want to pick your brain a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So for somebody who's just starting out, man, and you did drop some gems, and I thank you for that. But let me just ask you straightforward. For somebody who's just starting out, man, what's the best piece of advice you can give them?
Get ready to get turned down. Like
Mm,
fall in love with failing, because and I mean like getting turned down on auditions, fall in love with failing at a scene, fall in love with um, having the wrong beats in a scene, fall in love with saying the wrong line, because it's going to happen.
mm,
These things are inevitable. Like that's just how it is. And the moment you can fall in love with it and know that it's just part of the process, you can move forward faster. Because if you dwell on these things, they slow your progress down of where you want to go,
mm,
right? So if you can understand what's ahead of you, you can prepare for it and then move over those obstacles faster to get to the success,
mm.
or your version of success that you want. So fail, fail. And what I mean by that, to go even more in depth, is fail at posting what you believe is a quality, let's say TikTok, like you're acting on TikTok, right? You're doing little skits. Fail at that.
Mhm.
That's the best place to fail, because then you're going to get like a live reaction from other people, whether was it good or was it not. And again, it's subjective. Like
Mhm.
it's not to say if you put something out that you think is an absolute masterpiece, the world is going to love it. Not at all. Not at all. Once you let it out into the world, it's art. It's not yours anymore. You need to realize that. So just fail. Post yourself to fail. Get used to rejection. Get used to people telling you certain things, uh, that maybe you're not cut out for that role. And I'll say this, maybe you're not for that director's vision. But maybe if it was another director creating it, you would have been perfect. And if you have that mentality, like I would have been great for this role if it was, um, another director, or the vision was different, then you come at peace with it a little bit more. So for anybody who's starting out, be prepared to fail, be prepared to say no, be prepared to mess up. It's fall in love with it, because then you can learn and grow, and that's the beauty. Just do it and fail.
Absolutely, bro. I want to highlight the fact that you said once you post it, it's no longer yours. What the
Yeah,
heck? Like, that's
yeah.
so deep, bro, and that's so huge, you know. And you do want to post it and see the feedback, and of course, in the hopes that it's good and people receive it the way you envision it. And you said it's
Hmm.
subjective, so you never know. But that's crazy, bro. Once you post it, it's never yours. That's that's,
It's
that's
not.
huge.
It's not.
I've never heard that before. That's actually pretty cool.
Mm.
Are acting classes important? If so, why?
Oof. Yes and no.
Okay.
Um, so at
Yes and
first
no.
I did,
Okay.
yeah, for the first five and a half, 6 years, let's call it six
Mhm.
years, I didn't go to acting school. I didn't go to acting classes. None of it.
Mhm.
I read little books, like I said, YouTube here and there to get an understanding. Um, but what I understood the most was being true to yourself, and understanding that is what makes your acting better. Fall like just completely immersing yourself into that scene is what makes you better. Doing things and acting on impulse, right? And it wasn't until last year, that I actually started taking an acting class, and I went for a couple months, and then I stepped away from acting. But within that class, I learned so much because I understood my style of acting. I wasn't influenced. So this is a little bit of a story. So method acting, right? Like that's kind of like how I draw my stuff, is creating these characters, becoming these characters, and everything else doesn't exist. And I I learned that that's how I act, because I've done it. I was making films, and very, very consistently, and realizing what works and what doesn't. So I came to that. And
Mhm.
once I did, I felt a sense of accomplishment, because I was like, okay, now I know who I am as an actor. I figured it out myself. And that's a very hard process. I will say that. It's a lot of self reflection. Versus, on the other hand, you could say, all right, what acting techniques are there? And then you could see, okay, this acting technique I think is me. Let me try it out. And then you go take a class on that, or you start doing research into it, or you find somebody who teaches that. So I kind of did it. I reversed engineered it. I just really understood who I was as a person,
Mhm.
and that's where I said it's very vulnerable, because you have to dive deep into yourself. Like, I'm about to, you know, do this very intense scene. Can I do that? Well, yes, you can. You have the ability, so just make it happen, right? So I found out through all of the trial and error through myself that I resemble the most of the Meisner technique.
Mhm.
And after doing research into it, and very luckily crossing paths with Kevin, who was and still teaches the technique, I knew that this was for me, right? So, and it benefited me so much because of his classes. Following that, I was able to get a audition for a film that turned out to be one of my most emotional pieces, because he taught me how to immerse myself more into a very dramatic and emotional scene,
Mhm.
like really emotional ties. I had to, oh man, like you talk about depth that you had to go to pull yourself out, to bawl and snot and cry just for this scene, like that's terrifying.
Mhm.
But he also taught me, on the other hand, like I was saying earlier, he taught me how to bring myself back, not just so much rely on other people, right? But also how can I bring myself back? How can there be that extra level of protection for me,
Mhm.
and also immerse myself? So once I realized how I so to summarize, once I learned how I am as an actor, and how the method is, I then found what closely resembled that, the Meisner's
Mhm.
technique, and then I found an acting coach, Kevin, and then I just went with the classes, and it just clicked that much more,
Mhm.
because I knew who I was. So it helps, but in my story, I needed to figure out who I was first, because maybe, on the other hand, if I looked and saw, all right, there's different acting techniques, and maybe I tried a different one, maybe my acting style would have been completely different. Maybe I would have thought that that was who I was, and it wouldn't have been as natural,
Mhm.
right? Because naturality is probably one of the key things that I go for when auditioning, or going for a film.
Mhm.
So that's a long-winded answer, but I think it can help you once you understand the way you learn. To summarize.
Absolutely. And that also goes back to rewind to what technique you enjoy the most. It also goes with what
Absolutely.
type of learner are you? Okay. To highlight
Mhm.
again, you're hands on. We can try a little bit of entry level method acting if you want to see if that's
Yeah.
something for you, or go ahead and dabble with the Meisner technique. You know what I mean? But what made you want to become a director?
I love the idea of working with the collaborative group and they look at you and they say, where do we go next? What happens next? There's a
Mhm.
feeling within that. Uh, it's terrifying for sure. You know, nothing about this is ever exciting. Like, oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Let me get a bunch of people together, throw a bunch of money at this, and hopefully it works out. Like, that's crazy. You
Right.
know, so
It's usually
it's
how it
getting
goes,
those.
though.
Yeah, it's almost in effect like people. I think what a multitude of variables in this, but one of the key ones was people read your script, they liked it, they got behind it, they're working to achieve the same vision that you have, and there's something about that that just it does two things. I believe it either makes you realize that you're a leader and you can lead, or maybe you're not, right? Like it's one or the other. Because even if you say like, hey, look, I'm not a leader, but I'm still going to go for it, well, by default you're a leader. You just have the emotions of, I don't know if I can,
Right.
right? So
Yeah, I
either
agree.
way, it's black and white. It's either you can do it or you can't, respectfully.
Mhm.
And that's totally okay. There's plenty of people out there who wanted to become directors that couldn't, right? Because they realized it wasn't for them.
Mhm.
So for me, I realized very early on, I loved leading people. I loved seeing people get excited for a vision, um, my vision, and working towards an outcome and having fun with it, right? And there's a whole learning experience about it too, because you get to see a different aspect of everybody on set too,
Mhm.
and that's amazing. Like there's so many variables involved, but it's the storytelling, it's the collaborative effort. I mean, I could go on and just say it a thousand different ways, but there's even the stress. I love the stress of being a director. You know,
Mhm.
like how are we going to get this scene going? How is it going to look? How is it going to feel? What's the blocking? How do I want them to play this scene and then translate over to the next one? Like there's that stress is it's a good stress for me. It's a healthy stress, right? And just that full emotion, the rush you get.
It is, man. It's a blessing of an opportunity, man. You get to do
Yeah,
what you enjoy most, like getting paid, not getting paid. Let's just do the damn thing. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? First of all, a lot
exactly.
of people don't even make it to this point because unfortunately they
Hmm.
can't handle the rejection. They can't handle
Hmm.
the mental aspect of things, of diving into a character, working on something deep, getting casted, for
Yeah.
example, something dark. Like it is very, very different. But
Hmm.
how hard was it for you to find that balance, man? Because it is very much a grind. It is very much a hustle. You know what I'm saying? One season you can be up, one season you can be down. How were you able
I
to find that balance?
Yeah, I would say I'm still trying to find balance of that, right?
Okay.
Um, but when I was really going at it, grinding for it, and working as an actor mainly with that balance, I understood that opportunities cost.
Hmm.
And if I was going to take on this film, it was going to cost me XYZ time and these categories of my life. Can I, and then I asked myself a question, can I balance that? Is these, or can I control these variables?
Hmm.
Right? Can I maneuver my schedule and try to have some type of work life balance? And if I could, I would do my hardest to stick to a schedule, write it out, just to try to have this freedom of this dream life that I'm living,
Hmm.
and then also this real world scenario that I can't escape, right? Because you need to support yourself until your dream becomes a reality and they mesh together. So it was, how
Right.
can I plug these two in and have them work together instead of against each other, right? So there was a lot of planning involved, and if I couldn't control it, then I had to, you know, weigh the risks.
Hmm.
Is X, Y, and Z important to me? Can I sacrifice X, Y, and Z for this film? Okay, yes. Okay, no. There's times where you have to turn away as well in
Hmm.
order to keep your balance, because you have to have your priorities in check and understand, um, at least to some degree, your priorities in check. Because sometimes you just have to risk it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to look at it on the paper and you have to say, you know what, the paper says I need to protect this, but I'm just still going to jump for it. I got to go for that risk. And it's when you take those risks, sometimes it works out better than you ever thought. So,
Man, absolutely.
yeah, you just got to go. Just keep going. That's it.
Yeah, that's sick, bro. You see, it is, man. It's obviously when you take that risk, man, it is terrifying,
Yeah.
because you understand that it is competitive. Not only just the rejection, we talking about just the rejection and very much yourself, but also, man, externally, man, you're going up against, a lot of people fit the same demographic that you may fit, and
Mm-hmm.
for you, like, how are you able to deal with the competition, for example? Because I always believe in iron sharpens iron, healthy competition,
Yeah. Yeah.
so how are you able to deal with that competition?
I always wish the best for everybody around me, but I needed to make sure I was better than them. Um, but also being realistic and understanding that if I don't get the role, they're what the director envisioned. But before that, I always had it in my head like, I wish everybody success, but if there's 5 of us going to an audition, I want to outperform you.
Hmm.
And I'm going to think of creative ways. And it starts in the preparation. Like a lot of this for me started in the preparation. And it's crazy how I got this far. Maybe it's luck. I don't know. Because I would barely prepare for an audition,
Hmm.
to be totally truthful. I prepared a lot in the beginning, and then I realized I was trying too hard. So what I did was I would barely prepare, and I would improv. I've probably improved like a good 50 to 60% of all my auditions I've ever done.
Okay, how did that work? How did
And
that work out for you?
it worked out in my favor.
Cool.
They would
Oh,
say,
yeah.
with a monologue, it could be whatever you want, but it has to hit these emotional points.
Hmm.
And, I would try to research and nothing would hit. Nothing would mean like it wouldn't hit my core. Like I
Hmm.
could tell that I wasn't being genuine. So I'd be like, you know what, screw it. I'm just gonna try this. And this is one I did it for a film called Murder Pizza, where I had to play the two roles and I had to memorize a monologue that they gave us. And I did, and I got the part luckily. But then I realized I didn't like that. It felt too controlled. I didn't feel like I did as good as I could have.
Hmm.
Right. So when I did another film that was called The Master, I played 5 different characters.
Dang.
And with that, yeah, I mean, 3 of them had talking roles. 2 of them were just kind of like quick little snippets, but still, I had to come up and create a character for them. But for that, I knew there's no way I can create a monologue or
Hmm.
there's going to be a monologue out there that's going to best fit this and hit the
Hmm.
emotions. So, and I knew of the audition for 2 weeks, and I just kind of let it ride. And once it came time to go into the room, right, Studio A, and sit down, and you slate, you say your name. All right, you got your monologue, and you just bluff it. You're smiling. You're like, I got it. I'm ready to go. I still don't know what I'm gonna say. I
Hmm.
know nothing, right? And then, all right, whenever you're ready, it clicks. You
Hmm.
just close your eyes. You get into this immediate flow state, and then as soon as you open up your eyes, you're in a completely different world. You know what I mean? You just start speaking, but you know the emotion you have to hit. Like you close your eyes, you get in that emotion, and then you just let the words come out. You literally become vulnerable in that state. And I think it was that because it came from me genuinely. That's what swayed it, because it wasn't like, and then the cat jumped over the moon. You're not rehearsing lines that you studied for 2 weeks and
Hmm.
then put the emotion in. The emotion is coming with the words. It's fluid, right? It's a highway that just works. It's seamless, and that I think is what gave me the competitive edge, and confidence in a sense, right? Because once I did it the first time and I felt good, and I could tell the director was feeling good, and I got the callback, and then I got the role. I was like, all right, let me gamble.
Hmm.
Let me gamble again and do it for the next one. And I did. I was like, all right, let me play it safe. Let me find a monologue for the next film. And it didn't work out, So it really was knowing who I was. But that's the one thing that I think gave me the competitive edge. I know what gave me the competitive edge is being authentic to myself and not thinking.
Hmm.
Being completely opposite. Yes, there's preparation. It's almost counterintuitive. There's preparation involved, but there's certain levels of preparation. You don't want to over prepare. You don't want to just spit lines.
It is.
It's
It's
the
tough. Yeah, you want it to
yeah,
go well. You've prepared for it, whether you've had a week or the night before, and
yeah,
regardless, like how long it's been since your previous job. But man, you want to do good on this one, so you might over
of course.
prepare, whatever it may be. But I want to say good on you, bro, for just keeping your toolbox, your acting toolbox, kind of busy and open. And what I mean by open is by you trying different things and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't work and taking something out of the toolbox, replacing it with
Mhm.
something that does work. But another
Yeah.
question for you, bro, from an acting standpoint, because I know you dabble in both realms with the director and being an actor, you wear multiple hats. But from the
Yes.
acting standpoint, what is something that makes you say yes to a project?
That's a beautiful question. I did this subconsciously and I never really knew this, but when I was looking at roles, looking for things to audition for,
Hmm.
somehow, I say this subconsciously because I didn't actively know it. I went for roles that somehow fit my life at that period of time,
Okay.
right? I found some type of connection, like I was saying earlier, between me and this character. Do I see me in this? What relationship, even if it's a small connection, what bridge do me and this character have? Like he's an axe murderer. Well, how do I relate to an axe murderer? Well, why is he doing it? Right? Oh, he has a family. Okay, cool. I have a family. Well, he's doing it to protect his family, even though he's the bad guy in the film. Okay, now I can see him why he's the good guy. He's an axe murderer because he's getting revenge on his family. Making this up. All right, cool. Would I do that same thing? Well, it's not would I anymore. It's like I did do that. I am this
Hmm.
axe murderer who's protecting his family. That is me, right? So that was a key thing for sure.
Hmm.
Having that type of mentality going in and realizing that when you do it like that, it bridges everything together and just makes it easier, right? Finding the comparables between you and these characters.
Hmm. Who's somebody that you wanted to work with that you haven't had an opportunity to work with yet?
You. Let's be honest, man. We talked about it plenty of times.
Yeah, do we have, bro? Definitely. And I'd be excited for it, bro. And I'm open to whatever that may be. You
I
know what I'm
know.
saying? I actually want to try and dabble with some comedy, man. I posted that on my Facebook a few days ago because it's something completely left field for me. But I feel
Yeah,
like that's just who I am as a person, man. Like what I guess people see on screen is completely different from who I am in real life. You know what I'm saying? Like it's very easy to look fresh, get a suit, and you know what I'm saying, say some
of
lines.
course.
But I feel like to do comedy and to be funny, I can't write a joke to save my life. I feel like one of my good friends, Melanie Browning, actually told me this that
Mhm.
I just have good comedic timing. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I'm very
Yeah.
situational. I don't know like where the jokes come from, but it's very much within the environment. But yeah, bro, I'm ready whenever you're ready, man. That would be super awesome. But aside from me, bro, who's somebody else that you would want to work with?
Anybody?
Yeah, absolutely.
Matthew McConaughey.
That'd be pretty sick, bro.
Yeah, I love him on screen. I love him off screen. I read his book, Green Lights, and very, very great uh, read. I should say it was very, very pivotal, and it teaches you a lot about life and how his life experiences of just literally living, right? What he says, "I love you," right? How that played so much
Hmm.
into his acting career. I watched a clip last night, of him, and he was when he was first getting started, and he talks about this in his book as well. So it was nice to see him talk about it on the clip. He was saying when I first got started, I was talking to a close friend of mine, and I was telling him I need an agent. I need to get an agent. I need to get an agent. And his friend was like, "No, you're needing it. And if you need Hollywood, they don't want you."
Hmm.
He was like, go across Europe with your friends, go on a motorcycle. And that's what he did, right? He had less than $1,000 in his bank account, and he went to Europe and he went riding motorcycles, and he came back, right? And he was this different person. He didn't need Hollywood anymore, right? He kind of like let those emotions go, and he came back with this new experience of life. And his friend said, "All right, now you're ready. I have this appointment booked for you." And he says, "Oh, okay. We're gonna meet with this person. All right." Instead of it being like, "Oh, all right, cool. Like I got this. I'm meeting this, manager tomorrow. They're gonna do this. I got to prepare. Like he would have been acting outside of himself instead of him just being cool. Like, "Oh, okay, cool. Let's do the meeting tomorrow." Because
Hmm.
again, it's like you being your authentic self is what matters the most. And I learned a lot of that and good core values, I should say, and beliefs from his book Greenlights, and just him as a person, as a man, right? The way he
Hmm.
carries himself and speaks, and the way he holds his head up on his shoulder, and how he talks about adversity in his life and troubles and everything. It was very, it set a solid foundation, I
Hmm.
should say. So definitely Matthew McConaughey on a multitude of levels for sure.
Absolutely, bro. Do you think? Actually, let me rephrase this question. Um, when do you think somebody should join an agency?
That's a beautiful question. I would say when you've done a couple of shoots under your belt, you failed, you understand that when somebody tells you no, it doesn't hurt your feelings, but it brings you up, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't entice or rage in you to do better, right? It's
Mhm.
not that. It's all right. I wasn't the person for the job, and that's the key thing. I keep on referring to that throughout this talk, but it's so important to understand that when you get told no, it doesn't mean that you're bad, because when you sign to an agency, the levels are different, right? Now you're playing with some top dogs, some top dogs, right?
Mhm.
Because you're going to say, hey, look, we have this Nike commercial and it's going to pay you out this much. And you're like, oh, wow, I'm seeing a comma for the first time. Or maybe I'm seeing commas for the first time,
True. Yeah. That's
And you're
true.
like, there's so much at stake. Like, wait, how many thousands? I'm going to get thousands for this. And then maybe some more on the back end. And they want it to be a deal for this long. And they may want to sign me again. Like, then that pressure weighs on you.
Mhm.
Right. And you can't really prepare for that type of pressure unless you've been in certain scenarios like that.
Mhm.
Right. Where you're like, okay, I have an agency. They're going to give me these gigs. Because then when you get told no, you don't see it as getting told no for a role anymore. You see it as being turned down for a paycheck. Oh, shoot, I just got turned down for another 2 months of living in this apartment. Right. Because some people live like that. Like
Yeah.
that's how it is. Like it's
Mhm.
very stressful getting started and getting to an agency, working part time, but trying to stay available. So I would say it's best to join an agency when you understand the mentality of being an actor, right? When you understand that level, then go for it. When you have the skills, a reasonable amount of skill, natural skill or school taught skills, doesn't matter once, because you need to have a basis of understanding of film knowledge and talk, right?
Mhm.
Some type of basis.
Mhm.
And just being able to have that mental fortitude of no. So I would say with those two things, then go out there and look for an agency that and talk.
Mhm.
Like you're not going to marry this agency. Just date a couple. Hey, what do you guys like? What do you guys like? What do you
I
guys
like
want?
that, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Date
then
a couple. Yeah, it's good.
hey, agency A said this. What are you going to do about it, agency B? Oh, you guys don't offer anything like that? Well, I don't know. This sounds really good. And then you start learning the fine prints and you're learning how they operate and negotiate. You can negotiate terms and X, Y, and Z things. Like there's a lot to it that I don't think a lot of people know about. So just don't be like, I want to make it. Let me get an agent, and then I'm off to Hollywood.
Mhm.
I don't know. So
It is
yeah,
difficult, man. And you are signed with an agency. You have had experience with agencies, managers.
I I did a lot of the dating phase with an agency. I signed
Okay.
with them.
Hmm.
They sent me a couple of auditions, but at this point, I was transitioning from really heavily focusing on films in my life to being more of an entrepreneur and focusing on other avenues. So I
Hmm.
stepped away from a lot of that, and I haven't really worked on films much since then. On the back end, I've done a couple of things here and there, help out friends, but nothing major that's as I was doing before.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned you walked away from acting, and I'm sure that doesn't mean you're not going to look at something if it does stir your curiosity. I'm sure it's going to light you back on
Absolutely,
fire. But you
absolutely,
walked away, or I say this, you're taking a little break from acting, and
yeah.
and you're welcoming real estate. You just got your real estate license, right?
Hmm.
Congratulations, bro. I know that that's not easy. I know a few other of my buddies also got their license, and they're telling me how difficult that is. And not
Yeah,
everybody, gets an opportunity to pass, and they got to retake it. And it is
yeah.
quite a bit of an investment. But talk about that, bro. Getting your real estate license.
So I've always loved the game Monopoly since I was a kid, and I always had this grand idea of being able to retire early, passive
Mhm.
income. Like not so
Mhm.
much that, but it was being able to pass down assets to my family, right? So it's always
Mhm.
something I wanted to do. And I was working a corporate job at the beginning of this year, but I was like, I can't do this no more, right? Like it was draining me. I was like, there's this whole other part of my life that's just been there, and I just kind of glance at it every now and then. I'm like, no, like this is a time to really focus on this. That and taking care of family is what drove to me being let go of that corporation, and I'm okay with that. I was perfect. I was happy. I was like, this is it. Like very few times in your life do chances come at you and you have
Mhm.
a choice. You could look at them as a problem or you could look at them as an opportunity. And I was like, this is my opportunity. This is it. So the next day, with a smile on my face, I signed up for the real estate class. A week later, I did the 2 week in person, speed, fast course. They cram so much knowledge at you, and you just have to retain as much as you can. Then they say, all right, here's the big wide world. go. And that's just it. You just had to go for it. You had to take the tests, and you have to, sign up with brokers, and you're learning about this business as you're going. And it's this big, scary thing. And it made me feel like I was learning movies again, right? Because it was like almost those same emotions of, how do I start? How do I do this? And then I just referred to, all right, well, what did I do in this situation for a film? Or, when I was a director, how did I start with filming when I didn't know a thing? And now it's consumed my whole life. And I just kind of followed that mentality, that road, that mindset. And now I wouldn't change anything for the world. I took that leap of faith, and I'm loving every second of it.
I'm happy you did, bro. And again, proud of you for doing that. I love that the fact that you said you just moved on it right away when you felt like it was something that you wanted to do. Let it be challenging, let it be scary, let it
Exactly.
do it nervous. What's that quote that we see that everybody likes to post? Do it broke, do it scared, do it nervous, do it, just
there it is.
do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, and also another thing that I wanted to highlight too, man, you being a dad, bro, having a son. I see you post some pictures. You know what I'm saying? That's super awesome, bro. But talk about being a dad, bro. What's that experience like?
Well, now we added a couple more. So me and my fiance, she has one, I have my son, and we're expecting our daughter in June. So technically dad of three now.
Bro. That's
Yeah,
so
man,
cool,
dad
bro.
of three.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That is an experience in itself, which is very motivating, because you realize, people have this idea that, okay, once you become a family man, you can't chase anymore your dreams or your hobbies, or something of the sort. And to me, I say, figure out a way to make it work, because you can. If there's a will, there's a way. And I firmly believe that. And like I said, my son's been on multiple shoots. He's been in films. He's asked to be in films. He was just like, no, I don't want to do it. And I was like, all right, cool. They wanted you, but all right, no worries. So, but it was never forced. It was, if you want to do it, do it. But figure out a way how to make it interesting and have a balance, and get your family involved with it, so they're just not like, oh, their dad goes again. Like, obviously don't talk about it 24/7 unless they're film nerds like you, but sometimes drop some gems and make it interesting, and reciprocate as well. So being a family man in this it isn't a challenge per se if you have the right support system around you who understand that, all right, rehearsals are coming up. Okay, he's on set for 12 hours. Okay, how do we, you do it, let's just say, from my experience, I was doing a dark film, and it's just like, all right, dad's going to be a little weird, but how do we bring him back? All right, just act like it's normal. Don't bring it up, just keep on playing, be normal. And all right, he's going to be working extra long, or he's going to be sleeping during the day because they're all night shoots. It's a family that's supporting and understanding is so key to having, to being able to continuously do that, to do this and pursue this. Because if not, if you're not able to have that support, or you feel like there's a little bit of that drawback, and not so much communication, it brings you down heavily, and you start second guessing, and then it starts putting doubt into your work, and it's very contagious at that point. So family at its core is crucial to ensure, your success, for sure.
I love that you said that, family, having the support system. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure that they're your reasons why you wake up every single morning and do the acting and do the real estate, and you're going to become the businessman, entrepreneur that you already are. But bro, I just want to say, man, thank you so much, bro, for taking the time. But was there anything that you wanted to add?
Dude, I love this. You're on the brand new start of a journey, and just stay with it. The consistency is key, and I'm always supporting. I'm always in your corner, and just know some days, the road is going to get scary. It's going to be, hey, look, what am I doing? But just keep going, because it's in those moments that you're being tested to see how much you really want. How much do you really want to achieve this goal of yours, your level of success with this? And so I want to say I'm proud of you. Keep driving. You're doing something amazing here. And yeah, man, this is great.
Hell yeah. I appreciate it, bro. Thank you so much, man.
No problem.